Welcome back, everybody, to the Joey Osborne Show. I'm your host, Joey Osborne here, and today here we have another mock draft video here. Obviously, our fourth mock draft of the season, and we're only now 2 weeks away. Actually, I think maybe even a little less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft here. So a lot of things going on here, a lot of excitement. So let's get into this thing here, obviously, with this next mock draft. And there's obviously going to be a good bit of changes from the last one, so let's see what's in store here. But obviously, at the first overall pick here, we have the Chicago Bears, and we all know what this pick is. They've already traded Fields to the Steelers. It's well known it's going to be Caleb Williams, as he is potentially now the Bears' franchise quarterback, as he is selected first overall with their pick. Moving on here to Washington, the Commanders, once again, another team looking for a quarterback. And another team here that is going to be drafting one here in the reigning Heisman winner, Jaden Daniels, is going to LSU here in this from LSU. Is going to the Commanders here in this spot. I think out of all the quarterbacks in this draft, I think he is the most likely one to succeed. I know everyone thinks Williams is a great quarterback. I think he's okay, but he's very overrated. I think Jaden Daniels is a little more talented, and I think he'll probably be a little bit better for a quarterback than Williams. I think this is kind of a Bryce Young and CJ Stroud situation we had last year. I think this is that again here with Daniels and Williams here. But moving on to New England here with their third overall pick. And once again, the teams are going to be quarterback hungry. And here's the real shocker here. Multiple reports been coming out on the Patriots and their selection of who they're going to be taking. Obviously, we know it's a quarterback that's been well established. However, who the quarterback is has been a little more of a mystery. Obviously, Daniels has been some talk. However, it now seems is kind of a lock to be at 2 for the Commanders. Drake May has been someone talked about. However, New England has not been the biggest fan of Drake May, and another quarterback that they have seen they are a lot bigger fan of here. And that quarterback here, and this is via more reports. This is not just one report. I've seen more reports about this. But J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback out of Michigan, obviously the reigning national champion starting quarterback here from Michigan, is heading to the Patriots here. I think they must think this, again, Tom Brady might go something here for no Michigan quarterback. I doubt it. I don't think McCarthy's very good. He's not my top 3 quarterbacks, like talent-wise in this draft. However, it seems to be that is the way New England is going. They like McCarthy, I think, apparently a little more than Drake May. And that is who they most likely are taking at 3 here with their selection. Moving on here to Arizona. The Cardinals, a lot of interesting needs, and they want an interesting spot where they can trade down to a quarterback-hungry team and get some draft picks, or they can stay put and get a real playmaker. And honestly here, I think they stay put here. They don't have many wide receivers. They have a great quarterback in Kyler Murray. They don't have any wide receivers right now who are really great weapons for them. And they're looking for a franchise guy on the offensive side of the football to help out Kyler Murray. And the perfect one is staring them right in the face here at number 4. I think obviously the player the Arizona Cardinals get here, if they draft who I think they're gonna draft, they are getting the best player in this draft and probably one of the best wide receivers we have seen in a long time. And this guy reminds me so much of a former star wide receiver who also was very hyped up in his time, and he really lived up to that hype. And coincidentally, he also was drafted at 4 by the Cardinals 20 years ago, which is a little odd, but honestly, these guys are just so similar together. Obviously, of course, 20 years ago, they drafted Larry Fitzgerald, and they get a guy who's just as good here in this spot with Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver out of Ohio State, with this selection here. What Arizona's getting is a spectacular weapon for Kyler Murray to get the offense going. And honestly, I think Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a threat to come for years on end. And I think Arizona, they want to build a good team. They seem to have a good coach. Things are seemingly going in the right direction. Getting a guy like Marvin Harrison, that's just making things even better here to this spot. And I think that's a perfect move here for Arizona in this spot here. Now, moving on to the 5th pick here. This real thing is going to get interesting here. Once again, I think the Chargers are still going to be trading downhill. There's a team hungry to trade uphill, and that team is obviously Minnesota. They need a quarterback bad, and there's still one here at 5. And Los Angeles, they're looking to get some bulk here in this draft, and they're going to get it here, as they will trade 5 here. They'll acquire the 11th overall pick and the 23rd overall pick for it, and they will give up, let's see here. Well, that makes it work. I think it'll be a first and a 5th, not a 3rd. On the Chargers side, but this thing has a weird trade system, so it makes me do something. So I don't have Los Angeles giving a 3rd. I don't think LA will be giving up a 3rd round pick to get 2 first round picks. They obviously could, and actually that is kind of reasonable, I would say, for this. But that's just what the system makes me do, so we have to get with that. But now moving on here, now Minnesota has acquired the 5th overall pick here, and in their selection, obviously, they'll go in quarterback, and Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina, is the selection they'll pick. Obviously, they've lost Kirk Cousins. They need a quarterback. They want a young, talented guy. They acquired 2 first-round draft picks for a reason here, and it's the reason that they need to trade up and get more someone, and they do here in this spot, train up from 11 to 5, and they hopefully get the face of the future here in Drake May with that selection. Moving on here to the New York Giants. This is an interesting pick here. They have a lot of needs. Quarterback was a need that it seemed like they would be going after. However, obviously, by this point, all the quarterbacks that are really good are off the board. And I don't think you're taking a Penix or a Bo Nix here in this spot. I think that's just too early to pick a guy like him. Like, I don't think either of them are, top 10 pick kind of guys. I don't think you'd be wasting a top 10 pick on it. On one of those guys. Of course, obviously, Daniel Jones, they did that. But this is a different GM and everything, so I don't think that's happening here. But offensively, they have a lot more needs here. Running back is now one without Saquon. But wide receiver is another one here, and this is a great wide receiver draft. And they've been needing a great number 1 for a while. And I think they do that here. And I think a lot of people are thinking Malik Nabors, but Leslie, there's a lot of concerns about him playing in a big market team. And I think that scares the Giants away from picking him here. So I am taking Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington, with this selection, who is a great wideout, a lot of great things here. And obviously, I think if Daniel Jones, if they're hoping to at least do some sort of a rebound, I think a guy like Rome Odunze should really be able to help them out in this spot here. But moving on here at 7, the Tennessee Titans. A lot of places they can go. However, they have who they think their quarterback in the future could be in Will Levis. There's a lot of questions there. And I think, obviously, they want to build off Levis here and get him some protection here. And I know Joe Alt's a great player, good offensive tackle, and he's a good idea at this pick. However, I think we're going to see someone else go here. Oluwama Fashionu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State, is going to be going at 7 here with that selection here. Obviously, I think a lot of people think Alto. I think Fashionu right now. A lot of great intangibles. I think if you get him or Alt, you're pretty set at that tackle for years to come. I think Fasciano is maybe just a little bit better than Alt, but they're very similar, very close players. And I think Tennessee will take Fasciano here with that selection. Moving on to the 8th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons here. Obviously, they got the new quarterback in Kirk Cousins. They're looking to go. They're looking to try to get some more help on a lot of areas here. And one area of need that they really have got to get some solution going here is on the defense at the edge rushing position. They have not had a spectacular edge rush in a while. Their pass rush, obviously, it's just not been great for the last couple of years. They need a star player there on this spot. I know last year everyone was wondering why they took Bijan over Jalen Carter, including me. And I really liked Bijan, but obviously, they needed some help on the defensive line. I think this year they finally do it here. And I think Jared Vales, the edge rusher out of Florida State, is the selection with that pick here for Atlanta in this spot. Moving on to the Chicago Bears. Once again, they have 2 first-round picks at 1 and 9. And this real thing is getting us in here at 9. A lot of places they can go. They can go edge rusher, wide receiver, offensive tackle. Pretty much you name it, they can probably do it at 9 here with this spot. And they have a great selection of guys here. So you already got Williams, and you can get someone else here really good too. And I think definitely the Bears here, they are going to get a great player here. Who I'm selecting here in this spot is, obviously they have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore all ready for Caleb Williams. But obviously, Keenan Allen, of course, up there in age, probably will retire in a year or two here, I would assume. So why not get your star quarterback, another weapon here in Malik Nabors, the wide receiver out of LSU, will be going to the Chicago Bears and playing with Caleb Williams as he is drafted 9th overall by the Chicago Bears in this mock draft. Moving on to the 10th overall pick here for the New York Jets. Obviously, once again, they have a need at offensive line. They had that last year. And after the Horde debacle of Aaron Rodgers getting hurt on the third play of the whole entire season and being out for the year, they definitely are going to be going offensive tackle here. They need to do it. Last year, they got screwed over by the Patriots from trying to get Broderick Jones because they traded up with the Steelers. And they kind of couldn't get an offensive tackle. Right here at 10 here, though, they have a lot of great selections here. Obviously, you got Joe Alt, Talise Fuega, J.C. Latham here, Troy Fatranu, a bunch of guys here in this spot at offensive tackle where they can go and get someone here. And I think they're going to take an offensive tackle here in Joe Alt out of Notre Dame here with this selection as they try to make sure Aaron Rodgers does not get hurt again like he did last year and hopefully strengthen up that offensive line. Moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers here. Now, obviously, they traded down from 11 with the Vikings, who traded up for Drake May here at 5. In LA, a lot of places they can go. I think tight end Brock Bowers is an option getting a weapon here. However, I think, obviously, their offensive line still needs a little work. And I think a tackle here was an innocent idea. And I think right here, we're going to see another tackle get selected here because this is a great draft for tackles. And I think Talisa Fuega, the offensive tackle out of Oregon State, is the selection here for the Chargers at this pick here. So obviously, they're trying to build around their star Justin Herbert, and they need to beef up their line still. And I think they do it here with Fuega at this spot here. Moving on to the Denver Broncos here, obviously, there was a need for a quarterback. However, obviously, there was not really a quarterback here in this spot. So I think Denver is going to be the team that's the odd man out at this spot. And they still have other needs here, obviously. I think edge rusher, since losing Bradley Chubb and Von Miller in the last couple of years, the edge needs a lot of help. Cornerbacks, you could say, at least, obviously, they do have Pat Surtain, but you may need more in that spot, and obviously a lot of areas in need. However, I have the Broncos here deciding to address the edge rusher position in this spot with them taking Dallas Turner out of Alabama here with this selection here, as they finally get a great pass rusher after Bradley Chubb and Von Miller have both left in the last couple years here. But moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders once again, a team that could do a lot of things here and a lot of needs, but I think they're going to get offensive line here again. This is a great draft for offensive linemen, and I think we see no one go here. And I have J.C. Latham out of Alabama going here in this spot to the Raiders. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints here, once again, a lot of areas in need. Offensive tackle is a big question right now. Pennick has not developed in the way they kind of hoped he would, and obviously, as well, Ramczyk. Big questions if he'll even be available next year. He's starting to get up there in age, and I think New Orleans realizes this, and I think they get obviously a replacement here, and I think Troy Fatranu, the offensive tackle out of Washington, is going to be selected here at 14 with that selection. As obviously, they are trying to get things better on track here. Moving on to Indianapolis here. Once again, a lot of places they can go, but I think they're going to go defensively here. Indianapolis, obviously, they have a good team. Anthony Richardson, when he was healthy last year, looked the part. A franchise quarterback, which was great to see because obviously he was a big question mark if he'd be able to take his talents to the next level. He has when he was healthy. So obviously a lot of places you can go. You could try to support him on offense. However, when I look at Indianapolis, I think there was one giant need that they do not have in this spot here that is holding them back for being a good team because they have a quarterback now, I feel like. And I feel like there's one more thing, and I think that issue is they just do not have a star edge rusher. They have DeForest Buckner, but he's an interior pass rusher. They need someone on the edge there, obviously, who can get pressure. Now, Kitty Pay has not really developed in a way they thought. He's been fine, but he hasn't been a star. And I think they decided to address that here, and they're going to take Laiatu Latu, the edge rusher out of UCLA, with their selection here as they hope to get some star power on that defensive line on the edge side of things here and get things going. And obviously now moving here to Seattle at 16. This is where things get interesting again here. Seattle is in a real spot. There's some good players on the board, but a lot of these players are not players in which they really have a need for. And I think there's a team that's looking to trade up here on the spot to get someone they like. And you know what? I think it's a divisional foe here in the Los Angeles Rams. I think they're going to trade up from 19 to 16. They're only trading up 3 spots, so they're not really going to give up much here. So I think it's a 4th and a 5th for 16 here to Seattle. And I think here at 16 now, the Los Angeles Rams, they can get a great player here in this spot. And I think they decide, obviously, they got Tre'Davious White, but they need more on the defense, especially in the secondary. And this is a draft with a lot of great cornerbacks. And I think they decide they're going to pick one up here. And I think they're going to take here Terrion Arnold as he's going to be the first cornerback off the board here with that selection here. Moving on to Jacksonville. Obviously, very disappointing season last year. They have lost Calvin Ridley in free agency. And they need, obviously, a lot of things here in this spot. And I think definitely a lot of places you can go. But I think here on this spot, they are going wide receiver. Obviously, you need to get Trevor Lawrence weapons. And I think here, Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU, is their selection here in this spot. Moving on here to Cincinnati here. Once again here, I think this area where you get weapons for Joe Burrow. And I think Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, will be the pick here with this selection here. Moving on here to Seattle here. In this spot, they traded down to 19 here, and I have them picking. Obviously, they have a need on offensive line, specifically for the interior, and I think they will take it here. And they're going to give the guy who's been shooting up draft boards allegedly in Graham Bond, the interior offensive lineman out of Duke here with their selection. Moving on here to the Steelers in this spot here at 20. A lot of places they can go, but offensive line is a big need, especially at tackle. And I think that's what they address here, as they will take Armaeus Mims, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, with their selection here at 20. Moving on here to Miami. A lot of places they can go, but they need help defensively here. I think defensive line of Byron Murphy could be an answer. Obviously, a lot of off-field concerns now with Murphy here. And I think a lot of teams are a little scared off by him at this point here. But I think Miami, they have a big need in the secondary here too. Losing Xavier Howard and a couple other guys as well in that secondary. I think that's also a big need for them. I don't know why it's not suggesting on this draft thing, because I think it actually is a very big need for them. But obviously here, it's something they need. And I think here, if they're going to address here in this spot, of Kenyon Mitchell here, the cornerback out of Toledo here, with that selection here, as they're trying to get some more youth and young talent here on that defense here for Miami. Moving on here to the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of places they can go, but once again, they have a secondary that's aging very rapidly here now. Obviously, a lot of guys getting into the late half of the primes. They need some youth on that defense here. And they're going to get it here in this spot with Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson here, with their selection here, as they try to obviously get some more youth on that defense here. Moving on here to the Chargers here with the 23rd overall pick. Obviously, they got both here. And you know what? LA got a great player on offense, but you know what? They're going to want a playmaker on defense too. And I think they're taking Cooper DeJean, the cornerback out of Iowa here with the selection here. They have Asante Samuels Jr. already. And he's been a great cornerback in the one spot, but they need more cornerbacks here. And I think they get it here in that spot here. Moving on to the 24th pick here of Dallas. Once again, a lot of places they can go. However, they lost Tyron Smith, their longtime offensive tackle. And I think they're going to need someone to replace him. And I think right here, they're going to take Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, with their selection here. Moving on to Green Bay here. They have a need a wide receiver, and I think finally this is the year that they do address it. And I think they're going to be taking here Donnie Mitchell out of Texas here with their selection. Now, obviously, now in the Packers, that may not happen because they don't really take skill positions for some reason, but I think this year they finally will. I feel like this is gonna finally be the year. Moving on here, 26 Tampa Bay. They need a lot of great young talent on the defense. They need to get some more here. And I think the secondary is an area of need, especially a cornerback. And there's a perfect one right here in Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. And they'll be taking him with their selection at 26. Moving on to 27 here with Arizona. Once again, a lot of places they can go. But I think this time they address the defensive side of the ball here. And I think we're going to finally see our first defensive tackle off of the board here in Jayron Newton out of Illinois here with this selection here, obviously. A lot of people would think Byron Murphy, however, I just think there's a lot of off-field concerns right now, and I just don't see him being a first-round pick as of right now of just what's going on. Obviously, we'll see what happens, but I just don't think he'll be a selection at that spot. Moving on here to Buffalo, 28. They have a big need of wide receiver here, and I think that's what they address, and they're going to get one special wide receiver here in Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas. Obviously broke the 40 combine time record this year. He broke the speed record. I think it was 4.23. Insane speed, great talent. Honestly, I think he's better than Mitchell, but I just think Mitchell's a better fit for Green Bay rather than Worthy. But I think Worthy's gonna be a great fit here for Buffalo, and they make sure Mahomes doesn't get him here in this spot. Moving on here to 29, the Detroit Lions, a very talented team, a lot of great young guys. And they have an opportunity to get another great young guy here, and I think they do. Obviously, you got Aiden Hudson on the one side, Weston the pass rusher, but they really have a big question mark at the other side here. And I think they address it here and take Chop Robinson, the edge rusher out of Penn State here, with the selection here at 29. I'm moving on here to 30 for the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of places they can go, but I think wide receiver, once again, is something they decide they need to address. And I think they take Keon Coleman out of Florida State here with this selection here as they try to get some more wide receivers here into that room. Moving on to 31. And this is another area where it gets interesting here. I think we're going to see a trade. I think San Francisco is going to trade down here. It's only a couple spots, which makes it advertising to actually trade down. But I think they're going to do it here. And I think someone needs to trade up and at least get some of definite points here. And I think they do. Where the heck are they? If I find them, there they are. Carolina. I think Carolina's going to try to trade up back into the first round here and get some here. And I think they're going to trade a second and a fifth to San Francisco for their first round pick here. And at 31 here, the Carolina Panthers, who originally would have had the first overall pick before trading for Bryce Young last year, are going to get a first round selection here. And they are going to take here in this spot. They're going to take Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle, out of Arizona. If you're wondering why they're going to trade up from the second round pick to the first round here, the answer is right here on the Kansas City Chiefs. They had a big need offensive tackle, and I think Jordan Morgan would have gone, if they wouldn't have traded up here to get him, he would have gone right here at 32 to Kansas City. So I think Carolina's willing to trade up at least 2 spots to be able to get Morgan, who is a great talent, before Kansas City can get him. But Kansas City also here, I think they're thinking a very similar thing here, and I think that us thinking offensive tackle, and you know what? I think they're going to take Kingsley Suamataia out of BYU with their selection here. Now moving on to the second round here, San Francisco, a lot of places they can go. I don't know why they're saying quarterback here for San Fran, because I don't think they need that. But for the Brandon Ayuk saga, I think wide receiver is something we can talk about. And you know, I think it's wide receiver here. I think Ladd McConkey will be picked at pick 33 here by the San Francisco 49ers in this spot. Moving on here to the New England Patriots. Obviously, they got McCarthy, their first round pick. They got their quarterback. And you know what? I think they're going to get an offensive lineman here in the center with Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. Will be the pick at 34 for the Patriots here in that spot. Moving on here to Arizona here. Once again, a lot of places they can go. They can go on the offensive side of the ball. They can go on the defensive side of the ball. And you know what? I think they're going to go on the defense here. And I think they already got Jayron Newton as a one defensive tackle. Why not get another one here to help build out that defense here in Byron Murphy out of Texas? He's a great player. A lot of great attributes. Arizona's looking for a lot of great players on that side of the ball. They're looking for it, and they get it here with that pick. Moving on to Washington, the Commanders. Obviously, they got Jane Daniels. They may want to get some more talent here. They do always have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson on wide receiver, so I don't think wide receiver is addressed here. Everyone on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of questions, especially the edge rushers. Obviously, they traded both of their starters last year, and I think they're going to take naturals here. And Darius Robinson out of Missouri will be picked by the Commanders in that spot. Moving on here to the Chargers. Obviously, they have a big need of wide receiver. That has still not been filled yet at this spot. But I think right here is where they fill it. And I think here, Troy Franklin out of Oregon is the selection here at this spot for the Chargers. Moving on to 38 here for the Titans. Obviously, they have officially got Jadarius Sneed. And I think, obviously, they need a little more from the cornerbacks and some more youth in that spot. I think Aeneas Rakestraw Jr. out of Missouri is going to be the selection now for the Titans at that spot. Moving on here to the 39th pick here. For the Carolina Panthers, once again, they do have another one. And I think right here, they are going to be looking a little more on the defensive side of the ball in this spot. I think defensive line, they need a little more help there. I think Braden Fisk out of Florida State is the selection in that spot as they try to get some more youth in those areas right there. Moving on here to the Commanders again. Once again, a lot of places they can go. I think defense is still going to be really ideally look. And I think quarterback is an area they need help at. The first one pick last year struggled a good bit, but he did obviously come into his own toward the end now in certain spots. And I think they continue to build up that secondary here. And I have Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback out of Georgia, getting picked here in that spot. Moving on here to the Packers. Once again, a lot of places they can go. I think this time they address the defense. Their linebackers, obviously, a big question mark here. And I think Edwin Cooper out of Texas A&M is the Packers selection now in this spot. Moving on here to the Houston Texans, obviously, they have now finally have their pick. I see wide receivers suggested here for them. I would say that definitely is not what they need. Stephon Diggs now, so. But I do think they're going to draft on the defense side of the ball, and linebacker obviously is a big need. So I think we're going to see another linebacker go here, Payne Wilson, out of North Carolina State here with their selection. Now moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously they have Drake London. They recently acquired Rondale Moore, so I don't think wide receiver is really that big of a need here. But I do think here, obviously, I think safety is near they can go. Obviously, they do have Jesse Bates now on the one side. At the free safety, however, they don't really have a strong safety. Tyler Nubin, obviously, I think he does play both, if I'm correct here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he does play both. He's a great safety, and I think he is the selection here at 43 for Falcons here in that spot. Moving on here to the Las Vegas Raiders. Once again, a lot of places they can go, but I think quarterbacks in need here. And you know what? I think they're going to take Michael Penix Jr. here in this spot. And moving on to New Orleans here. Obviously, a lot of places they need help with, but I think wide receiver is a big one. I think Ricky Porcel out of Florida is the selection in that spot here. I think they still have faith in Derek Carr, so I don't think they're going to be taking Bo Nix in that spot here. Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts. Once again, a lot of places they can go, but I think they address cornerback here, and I think Mike Sanstrill, the cornerback out of Michigan, is the selection here in that spot for Indianapolis. Moving on here to the Giants. I think this is where we see the yellow quarterback go. I think Bo Nix will be picked by the Giants at pick 47 here in this spot. Moving on to pick 48. I see they have edge rusher as a need. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they go wide receiver again. Tight ends a no. However, let's see here what else. Defensive line here, actually, I could see this here, and I think Chris Jenkins out of Michigan. I think that's a good selection here in that spot. Moving on to pick 49 here for the Bengals. I think wide receivers where they go. Obviously, if the T. Higgins saga is going to come to an end. I think Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, I think he's a better fit than Wilson for the Cincinnati offense. Of the speed that Legette has. and I think he is the selection at pick 49. Now moving on here to pick 50, the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of places they can go, but obviously they had Jason Kelce retired this year. They need a center, and I think all the Pittsburgh fans will be mad about this because they're just gonna miss him. But I think Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, the center, will be the Eagles' selection here in the second round. Moving on to pick 51 here for the Steelers. A lot of places they can go, but I think cornerbacks are a little slim right now, so I don't think they're going to address that. But I think the wide receiver, the Steelers have someone they like right there, and I think they take Roman Wilson out of Michigan with their selection here as they try to get a good number 2 behind George Pickens. Moving on here to the Rams. Once again, obviously, Aaron Donald was retired. They need youth on the edge. They had some great talent come in already this year. They're going to need some more here, and I think Chris Braswell out of Alabama is their selection here in that spot. Moving on here to the Eagles. A lot of places they can go. I think linebacker is an area they can look at. And I think that's the area they are going to take a pick at here. I think Junior Colson out of Michigan is the selection there in that spot here. Moving on here to the Cleveland Browns. I see a need here for wide receiver, but I feel like after trading for Jerry Jeudy, they don't really need that. So I'm not going to take. I don't think they're taking a wide receiver here. But I think defensive line here is an area that they do address. I think, obviously, the defense was spectacular last year. They want to continue to make it spectacular. I think Devontae Sweat out of Texas is a perfect selection for the Browns there in that spot. Moving on here to Miami. Once again, a lot of places they can go. But I think here they need more on the defensive side of the ball, specifically in that secondary. And I think Javon Bullard, the safety out of Georgia, he's right there, and I think they take him with that selection. Moving on here to the Dallas Cowboys. They need a running back here, and you know what? I think they get it here, and I think Jonathan Brooks out of Texas is the Cowboys' selection here at 58, 56, as they're obviously looking to get some more talent here into that offense, which really had a lot of struggles toward the end of the year, though, especially in the rushing attack. Moving on here to Tampa Bay. A lot of places they can go. But honestly, here, I think once again, they're going to go cornerback here, get some more youth in that position. And you know what? I think they're going to say screw it and take TJ Tampa here. He's obviously a great quarterback. But the other funny thing is, TJ Tampa is going to Tampa Bay here. So that's a little funny as well in that spot. But I think he's a great fit for Tampa Bay anyway. I think he's a good position in that spot here. Moving here to Green Bay. Once again, no team needs a cornerback. They get it here on Max Melton out of Rutgers with that selection. Moving on here to Houston. I don't know why I keep saying wide receiver was a need for them, because it's really not now with obviously Stephon Diggs. However, running back, now that is, and I think Trey Benson out of Florida State is a perfect selection now for Houston in that spot here, obviously. Now moving on here to Buffalo. Obviously, I think edge rusher Von Miller has not done well, and he is toward the end of his career. They need some improvement. I think Marshawn Neeland, out of edge rusher out of Western Michigan, is a good selection now. I think that's a guy who can sit behind, obviously, Von Miller and just learn from Von Miller some great things. I think he could be a good developmental player who could turn into a productive pass rusher for your team here in this spot. Moving on here to Detroit. A lot of places they can go. I think they address wide receiver right here. I think Jalen Polk out of Washington is the selection there. Obviously, they lost Josh Reynolds in the offseason. They need a wide receiver. They get one here on Polk out of Washington. Moving on here to Baltimore. I think they're going to get a developmental piece here on the edge. And I think Braylon Trice out of Washington will be the selection for Baltimore here in that spot. Moving on here to San Francisco. Obviously, they took Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia, their first selection. And you know what? I think they're going to take a developmental piece here in Patrick Paul out of Houston with their selection right here. Now, moving on here to the Chiefs with their last pick. And you know what? Let's end this mock draft off with a little bit of an interesting end. Let's have a trade. So let's see. Obviously, KC here. And I got to remind you, it's going to trade up just a little bit to get someone they really like. And where are they? They only made a trade earlier today, and they're going to make another one here. As obviously, they are someone they really like here, and I think they're going to want to get it. So let's see here. We're going to use a little trade law securities. Okay, hold on. Yeah. See, this is why I don't like this thing. It's got some wacky trade law secure. So this is not, I don't think this is what the trade is going to be, but I'm just doing this to make this thing actually work. If it will let me work. Hold on. Okay, it's not even let me. Okay. That's the one thing I do not like about this system is this. It just does not work very well. Again, let me trade it. Okay, this thing's not going to let me trade it here. But let's pretend this is the Chargers here in the spot, and they'll take Blake Corum out of Michigan here with their selection. And with that, that ends this mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed this mock draft. Obviously, we will have one more here, and we'll be doing that on draft week here. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for more. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.